recovery is possible. Hi guys, and welcome to my channel. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Ciarra Burns. I am here today because I would like to open up and share my journey and experience throughout my eating disorder. And right off the bat, I am just going to be brutally honest. I have no experience in filming or taking videos, and this is my first time ever uploading a video of myself, let alone it being about my eating disorder. So I am feeling all types of emotions. I am very anxious, I am very nervous, and I think eating disorders are very personal. However, they are not talked about nearly enough. So as I am getting comfortable still sharing my story, I am going to do my very best to speak from my heart, be as open and vulnerable as I can. And while I also struggle with perfectionism, I, in the back of my mind, can't help but wonder, what if I leave out this detail? Or what if I forget to talk about that? What is so-and-so going to think about this? What if I offend somebody? I mean, the list goes on, and I honestly don't think I will ever feel like 100% ready to do something like this. So I am just going to kindly remind myself that none of that stupid stuff even matters, because the reason I am here is to hopefully help somebody and just get my story out there to whoever needs to hear it. So with that being said, I'm going to start from the beginning and go from there. So a little background on myself. Growing up, I was always a very athletic kid. I was always involved in sports or hobbies, and I didn't have any strained relationship with food. Fast forwarding to high school, I kind of started to lose that side of myself. I began partying and dabbling in some behaviors I probably shouldn't have given my family's history, but I didn't think anything much of it. I was like, you know what, it's high school, like everybody goes through this phase. And moving forward, the end of my freshman year in high school, I was actually removed from my home and I was put into a foster care. And I, looking back on it, think of it as a blessing, because not only does my mom have 7 years sober today, we are best friends. I also was able to take a step back and look at my life and what I was doing and where I was headed and what I really wanted. So this is when I started to reintroduce exercise into my life, and I at this time felt like I was lacking control. So by being able to say how I took care of my body and what I did with it, that was my form of control. And I took pride in being able to have control in that area of my life. And I also was always told, growing up, oh, it's a good thing, you turned out to be the normal one in the family, or, it's a good thing someone's normal. So this always put this expectation in my head of I have to keep everything together because I'm the normal one in the family. And so that's where it kind of all started. I mean, there was a wide variety of things that contributed to my eating disorder, but this is when I started to look for acceptance and self-worth through the validation of others. So I would take screenshots of models or other women and set it as my phone background, because I thought that was my motivation. If I could just get myself to look like this, I would then feel beautiful and loved and valued, and people would like me. That's what I idolized. So I began to excessively exercise, and I would go to the gym 2, maybe 3 times a day on top of hiking. And then once I started to learn what my bicep looked like, or that I had a leg muscle, I wanted to take it to the next level. I was never satisfied. I always wanted more. And once I started to teach myself the nutrition side of it, I became obsessed with counting calories and macros, and I got a personal trainer. And I was not listening to my body at all. I wouldn't take rest days. I would, train with my trainer and then go hike a mountain after, or put so much stress on my body. And I didn't even enjoy exercising anymore at one point. It just became a chore, and I felt like I had to, otherwise I was guilty and felt lazy, or I wasn't doing enough. I didn't even know how to just be anymore. I couldn't just sit still. I always had to be going. And I began to obsess over food scale and weighing my food and counting my calories, and it kind of began to feel like a game at one point. How many calories can I save for the end of the day so I can eat 3 tablespoons of peanut butter, or how much food can I fit onto this plate for the littlest amount of calories? I didn't know how to eat without a food scale. Like, I was weighing everything, like down to the last piece of spinach that I put into my mouth, or my cinnamon and my mustard. Like, everything had to be weighed, otherwise I was fearful of eating it because I didn't know the exact macros that were in it. And I just remember I would even like set an alarm in the middle of the night to wake myself up if I didn't get in my full amount of protein the night before, or if I didn't chug my full gallon and a half of water. Like, I would wake myself up to make sure I was getting that in. And there would be nights I would go to bed and be like, God, please, like, just let me go to bed so I can stop thinking about food. My mind was constantly thinking about food and when I was gonna get it again, and what I was gonna get next, and if I was gonna be able to eat my meal warm or if I had to eat it cold because I was gonna be out and about. I would just put my food in Ziploc baggies and carry it around with me in my purse and eat it cold wherever I was. And if I was busy or had to be working, I would make sure that I could get my meal in my pocket and go to the bathroom and eat. Like, food was my number one priority, like nothing else in my life. My life was being controlled by food, and I never ate like what I really wanted. It was just according to whatever meal plan I was on. And I just remember trying like every single diet that you could possibly think of. I would try carb cycling, intermittent fasting, detoxes, cleanses, don't eat after this time, only eat high fat and low carb, or have high carb these days, low fat these days. And I just tried it all. And this also created very much anxiety for me in my life in many areas. I became very uncomfortable eating around others, and I would constantly be like comparing how far along somebody else was in their meal. And am I eating too fast? Am I eating enough? Am I eating too much? Like, I didn't know what was normal and what was not, because I was just used to eating what I was told. And I also became really good at isolating myself, especially after I started to binge. And I still remember the very first time I binged. Long story short, I had ran into somebody that I hadn't seen in a while from high school, and they commented like on how great I appeared to be doing over social media. And that evening my mom was like, "Hey, you want to go out to dinner?" And at first I was like, no way, like, not a chance, sister. Like, I didn't know, I would never eat out. Like, I always ate at home for months and months. The thought of somebody else preparing my meals for me, or cooking in oil and me just like not knowing exactly what was in it, like, that terrified me, and I wouldn't do it. I was like, no way, not happening. But since like this girl had just commented on how well I was doing, I was like, you know what, yeah, I deserve a cheat meal, like, let's go. And I was so excited. And that evening, like, we ended up going to Chompy's, and Lord knows that menu is like the Bible. It is so long, and I just remember looking at it and I was like, I have choices? Like, I don't know what I want. What do you mean? How am I supposed to pick one thing? Like, I want the burger, and I want pancakes, I want the fries, I want the Benedict, I want cake, I want steak. Like, I wanted everything, and I didn't even enjoy my night that evening with my mom. Like, I was actually mad that I couldn't make a decision, and so we ended up getting like a little bit of everything, and I ate everything. And I remember going home that evening, and first thing I did, like, I looked in my pantry and I continued to eat. Like, I just kept eating. There was no off button. Everything I had deprived myself of or hadn't had in so long, like, I was putting things together that didn't even go together and didn't even matter if it tasted good. Like, I just kept eating. And I remember waking up the next morning and I felt swollen, and I was like so mad at myself. I was like, how did you just do that? Like, I held so much like guilt and shame, and I was embarrassed, and I was like, I just ruined all of my hard work, all that dedication in the gym. Like, I thought I threw everything away. And this is where I developed a big problem when it came to like my black and white thinking. I was either all in or all out. And this cycle just continued on and on and on of binge and restrict, binge and restrict. And it got to a point where I never attempted to rid myself of food in order to lose weight, but I remember time and time again sitting over the toilet trying to get myself to get sick because I had felt so lethargic from binging, and I was so uncomfortable and miserable. And I just remember looking up and like saying, God, please just help me get rid of this feeling. I feel so terrible. I promise I will never do this again. And like in the middle of the night, I would just be hovered over the toilet, like feeling this way, disgusted with myself. And I would wake up in the morning and say, okay, today's the day. And the cycle would just continue and repeat itself. And I at one point had 6 different gym memberships because I was so embarrassed to go back to certain gyms and see people I used to see all the time because I had put on weight. And I was so mad that like I couldn't lift the same amount of weight anymore, or I looked completely different, and I was like too embarrassed to see people, so I just kept signing up at like different gyms hoping I wouldn't see anybody. And for a while, like, my eating disorder has been my secret for so long, and I could hide it to an extent because in the beginning I would put on 5 pounds and then lose a few and put on 10 pounds, and then eventually, like I said, it just got worse and worse over time. And I felt crazy around food, and I didn't know how to talk about that with anybody because in my life, like, everyone always said, oh, food's the worst thing, like, you have to worry about considering your family's history, like, you're fine, it's food. And it always like brushed it aside for me, and I just didn't think much of it. But like, in reality, like, food controlled my life at one point. And when I got so far into binging, I couldn't stop comparing myself, like, not only to other people, but to where I had gotten my physique when I was like my most fit, or however you want to put it. I couldn't stop comparing myself to that, and like to think that I now had to face reality now that I'm 40 plus pounds heavier. Like, I couldn't grasp that. So I just kept eating and eating, and I got into such a dark place mentally where I literally did not leave my couch. Like, I just was honestly eating my life away. Like, I was not living a life. I completely isolated from the world. I stopped responding to people. I fell off the face of the earth. Like, people would be like, yo, where have you been? And I just didn't want to have to face reality, so I thought it would be easier to ignore it. And like, at this point, I thought it was like too hard to get myself out of this like dark place and accept what I had done to myself. Like, I was more comfortable just staying miserable. And when I got to my like all-time low, I didn't fit into any of my clothes anymore. Like, I actually had to go to Goodwill time and time again and get baggy clothes because literally nothing fit me anymore. And finally, like, I just remember looking at my mom and saying, like, Mom, I don't know where, I don't know how, I don't know who can help me, but like, something needs to change. Like, I have a problem. And I didn't care what anyone decided to call it, like binge eating, emotional eating, restrictive eating, extreme dieting, excessive exercise. Like, I had a variety of things, and I didn't care what anyone labeled it. Like, I just knew I needed to get help. And I knew that when I started hiding food wrappers and taking out the trash so that nobody would see what I had eaten, and going negative on my bank account so that I could eat food, and honestly, like, finding change around the house so that I could get enough money to go to Taco Bell, and I would spend $20-$30 at Taco Bell just on myself, and I would go from drive-through to drive-through to drive-through. Like, I realized I really had a problem, and it kind of became beyond just binging for me. I remember I tried like Googling what type of eating disorder could I have, and I didn't know where to go, and every treatment facility I found was like buku bucks, and I don't come from a family like with all this money. And I remember I tried calling an anonymous hotline to get help one day just to find nobody else was on the other end of the phone, and I felt stupid, and I was like, okay, great, like, I'm screwed. And I even tried going to my first like support group meeting, and there were no cars in the parking lot, so I was like, okay, maybe I'm the only one who needs help, I don't know. But I go up to the door and nobody's there, so my mom and I ended up leaving, and we went to a buffet. And it's funny looking back on it, but it's really not. Like, I grew so mad because with my experience in other addictions in my family, like I felt like there was help like on every corner, and like when it came to an eating disorder, I didn't know where to go or who to turn to. And finally, I don't know how I got myself to do it, but I ended up going to an eating disorder treatment in Chicago, and I just remember like it was yesterday, packing my bags and getting on a plane, going to Chicago and taking an Uber by myself, and getting out of the Uber and like stopping and thinking like, I am here because of an eating disorder, and I so badly wanted to get back in that Uber, fly home, cry, and just crawl in my bed and eat food, because that is what I did when I was handling any emotions. I didn't know there were like ways to cope with emotions, like, which is so important. I am so thankful. Like, going to that eating disorder treatment is is the best decision that I made for myself, and I learned so much about myself there, and it was so hard because I had to open up a lot of like unhealed wounds from my childhood, and I just had to relearn my relationship with food, and it was a very uncomfortable experience while I was there. I mean, everything that you did was monitored. If you had to go to the bathroom, like somebody was right there with you, and you had certain hygiene hours of someone would be sitting in the bathroom while you did your makeup, like just watching you, and they would go through your stuff. And when we would sit down for meals, like we would eat at certain times, and we would have to fill out these little like exercises of how the meal made you feel and your hunger cues both before and after. And during this time, like, that was like the first time I'd ever heard the term hunger cue or intuitive eating and mindful eating. I was like, what is that? Like, I had no idea. I didn't have any real connection with my body, and this was the first time I had to like sit with my emotions. I wasn't able to binge anymore because I'm now in this facility that is monitoring everything I do, and I was also no longer able to like work out my emotions. Like, I had to sit here and really like face what was going on in my head and learn these coping mechanisms. And I'm so thankful for that now, because while I still don't have the best relationship with food, I'm just so happy I'm not where I was, and I have these tools to look back on now. And yes, some days are easier than others, but that is a part of life. And that's another thing that used to make me so mad. Like, I would always tell my mom, like, you just don't get it though. Like, with other addictions, you can just cut them out of your life completely. Like, with food, I am never recovered. I'm forever in recovery, and I have to be faced with food every single day, multiple times a day. And by no means does this make any other addiction easier. I just was like so mad at this for so long. I was like, why though? Why do I have to face food every single day? And that's kind of the gist of my eating disorder. And clearly there are many, many details, and I know I'm gonna look back at this video and be like, dang, I wish I added that, or oh, I forgot to talk about that. But that's okay, because I hope this isn't my last video. And if you have any questions on anything, please like leave a comment below, or you can email me. You can follow me on Instagram. But just know, like, if you are battling any mental illness, struggle, or depression, or anxiety, eating disorder, like, there is help out there. You deserve to get help. It is so hard mentally. I know that. I have been in your shoes, and you don't have to live that way, because honestly, it's not a way of living. Like, you deserve so much more out of life. Like, I am so, like, I'm finally at a point where I'm like, I'm so excited about life. Like, I am passionate about so many things. There are so many things I want to talk about with you guys. And like, I practice gratitude every day, but there's just like always been this side to me that's like a go-getter. I don't know. I'm just like, I'm getting fired up talking about things here now, and I feel like I'm just rambling. So it's not easy to be vulnerable and put yourself out there in the world. I don't think you even have to. You don't owe this explanation or side of yourself to anybody that you don't wish to share it with. But for me, like, I feel like God is wanting me to share my story out there, and if I can just come across like one person who needed to hear this message, or know that they're not alone, or know that they're not crazy, because there are others out there like you battling this, like, I will think that it'll all have been worth it to me. Like, I just needed somebody in my corner also when I was in my darkest moments to like let me know I'm not alone, and know I'm not crazy, and I don't need to feel ashamed for this. Now, I don't have all the right answers. I'm not here to tell anybody what to do or how to do it, but I'm here for you. I am any way I can help. Like, if you need support, if you need me to help you look up meetings around where you are, like, I will gladly help you do so. Here I am. It is November, and I went to treatment in Chicago back in end of January, beginning of February, and I am still to this day continuing an outpatient program that I do online. And so it hasn't been quick fixes, but like, I'm so thankful to have had the people that I have had in my corner throughout this all, because I would not have been able to do it without their support. And for that, I will forever be grateful, and you can do it too. I know that you can, and I have been through so many different phases throughout my eating disorder. It's very easy for me to get lost, so I hope that this made sense to somebody out there, or somebody heard something they needed to. Okay, I'm really gonna stop rambling now. So thank you so much if you've made it this far. I really appreciate you being here, and I will see you in my next video. Oh yeah, but I do just have to say, for anyone who said that, thank goodness I was the normal one in the family, I hate to break it to you, but the Burns family, like, we're just not normal. But it's okay, because in reality, behind closed doors, I don't think any of us are normal. Oh my gosh, this is really hard. Did things... Man, I say a lot. Perfectionism is... I'm probably not going to admit that. Okay. Really? Can you not? Oh my god, Minnie, lay your ass down! You don't need to thank me. Oh. Because your girl is awkward. That being said, I'm just gonna get started. You're so freaking weird. Okay, serious note. Shit. Being said, we're gonna redo that. Oh, we can cut this out. No. No. Why is this so hard? I'm gonna stop now. Bye.